Well, hello, and welcome into your VinYinasa practice. So VinYinasa is a hybrid practice. It's about 20 to 25 minutes of vinyasa flow, about 15 to 20 minutes of yin yoga, which is deep tissue stretching, and then 5 minutes of relaxation. So the yin portion of the practice is the reason why you see me having this big pillow or bolster here to the side, because that may come in handy in the latter portion of the practice. And we are going to start today on our backs. So you can make your way onto your back. And you can start, we'll begin with just about a minute to a minute and a half of centering. So legs and arms extended, eyes might softly close. And I'm titling this practice, Unwrapping Presence. But the spelling of presence in this case is P-R-E-S-E-N-C-E. So as we move through the practice this morning, thinking about the experience as we move deeper and deeper of unwrapping a present. But the present this morning is presence itself, the gift of being fully awake in the present moment. And so as we ground here for about 30 more seconds, just a resting, breathing body, you might be aware of any obstacles that are inhibiting you from just being here right now, a breathing body. And know that some of those obstacles may be things you can't change right now. And so then the work becomes, how can you be in relationship with those obstacles where you can still unwrap an experience of presence in the practice today. Give yourself 2 to 3 more breaths depending on the pace of your breath. And then as you exhale the next time, draw your knees in towards your chest, wrapping the arms around the shins, giving yourself a bit of a hug. This can feel so yummy on the spine. And then we're going to allow the inner thighs and inner knees and inner shins to come together. So that inseam of the legs kind of glues together, and take the arms wide, either like cactus arms or like a wide T position. Start to engage the belly button towards the spine. So we're feeling a sort of core integration. And then draw the knees forward so the shins are at a parallel line with the floor. Fully inhale here, and as you exhale, drop your legs about halfway over to the right at a 45-degree angle. Inhale there. Exhale, pass through center and drop them about 45 degrees over to the left. We're going to sway back and forth like this about 3 times each side, exhaling to pass through center, and inhale, you're at that 45-degree angle to the right. Exhale through center, and inhale, you're at that 45 over to the left. Trying to keep that sensation of core integration as we let the legs hover at this 45-degree angle, gliding from side to side. Noting that there is a little bit of space in the low back, which is that natural curvature, that S curve of the spine. Keep going from side to side. We don't need to eliminate the natural curvature of the spine, but we also don't want to amplify it. One more time each side. And the next time you come through center, pause there. Really reestablish that right angle so the knees are right over the hips, the shins are parallel to the floor. Take your arms alongside the sides of your torso, palms are facing down. And then as you inhale, lift your head, your neck, and maybe just a bit of your shoulders. Looking straight up towards the ceiling, hover your palms and try to reach your fingertips forward. Holding for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2. As you exhale, let the shoulders, the back of the head, the palms come back to the mat. Inhale here. Exhale, tap your toes towards the front of your mat. Inhale back up to that right angle. We've got 10 of these, so 9 more to go. Tap the toes towards the front of the mat and back in. 8 more, tap, and in. A good time to remember we have that curvature in the spine. We're not trying to eliminate it by flattening the low back, but as we tap the toes forward, we're also trying not to overemphasize that curvature by keeping that core integration in the front of the core. About 5 more, and in. Feeling the legs waking up a little bit as well, 4, and in. Keep the face relaxed and soft, 3, and in. 2, getting deep and layered in our practice right away this morning. 1 more time, out and in. Come back to that hug, knees to chest, arms wrap around the shins. This might feel really good now that we've done some of that core work to massage the low back a little bit. And then we're gonna rock and roll and come all the way up to downward facing dog. So you might take 2 to 3 rocks. We'll all meet in downward facing dog. Feel free to welcome in any intuitive movement that feels good in this first Adho Mukha Svanasana. I'm finding it feels really natural for me to like turn one foot out, lean into an outer hip for a breath or 2, and then switch that to the other side. Maybe there's a heel lift and lower that feels good to you, or bicycling of the knees. And then eventually we start to make our way into an experience of stillness here. So these first few minutes of the practice are really like that initial unwrapping of a present, and ripping off of the wrapping paper, that first layer. And often we do that, and underneath we're like, oh, we have a box. This experience that we've gone one layer deeper, and yet there's still so much more to uncover before we truly get to that gift, that deep experience of presence. Inhale, shift forward to plank pose. Exhale, tap your knees to the mat. Inhale, return to plank. Exhale, back to down dog. I'll take that 4 more times. Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, just a little kiss of the kneecaps towards the mat. Push the heels back to plank, and return to your down dog. 3 more, coming forward. A little kiss and tap. A re-extension to plank, and a return to down dog. Inhaling forward, letting the breath lead the movement. Tap the knees. Return to your plank. Return to down dog. Last time forward, plank. A little tap. Return to plank. And down dog. Shifting forward to plank. You could stay here or float the right leg up for a 3-legged plank. Broadening the collarbones, looking slightly forward, holding 2. Feel how strong that left leg became. 1 more inhale, fully present here with this work. Draw your right knee into your chest, round your upper back. Imagine that you would kiss your right knee. Inhale fully. Exhale up to 3-legged dog. Step your right foot in between your thumbs. Lower your left knee down. Take a moment to settle into your first low lunge of the practice. Maybe lengthening the spine, drawing the heart forward. So many opposing actions to really solidify the shape, the hips going down, the heart pulling forward. The pelvis is descending, and yet there's this energy of the inner thighs drawing together. And then we'll take this into Ardha Hanumanasana, half splits. By drawing the hips back, we're going to keep the sole of the right foot flat. So without lifting any part of the sole of the right foot, to start to straighten the right leg, feel that stretch moving across the top of the foot, the front of the ankle. Maybe the knee doesn't even fully straighten, that's fine. As you stay here with that right foot glued to the mat, keep lengthening the spine. And then we'll kind of drop into the next layer of this by peeling up the underside of that right foot, rotating back onto the right heel, and now really work to straighten that right knee. Draw the right hip back, maybe fold in a little bit deeper. 1 more inhale here. As you exhale, shift back forward to your low lunge, tuck your left toes, lift your left knee, plant your left palm, and sweep your right arm up towards the ceiling. Staying here is an option, or sweep the right arm overhead, getting really long from right fingertips to left heel. And as we breathe here for about 2 more breaths, I actually want you to welcome in a little bit of a twist in the upper spine so that the right armpit starts to pivot open up towards the ceiling. Maybe lean back a little bit in the upper back. 1 more inhalation. And then look down, plant the right palm, step it back, downward facing dog. We'll take a vinyasa with a dancing cobra pattern. Shift forward to your plank pose. Tap and lower your knees. And then lower in one solid piece all the way to the mat. Take the arms out with the elbows pointed up. Fingertips are on the mat, nice and wide as we take 3 dancing cobras. Inhale, lifting up, floating up into your dancing cobra. And then floating down. Legs really active here, knees are straight. Inhale, dancing up. And floating down. 1 more time, floating up. And down. Planting the palms underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes, downward facing dog for 5 breaths. When we think of unwrapping presence, often the most exciting part of the experience is the anticipation of what's inside. And so sometimes the real challenge is actually for us to find enjoyment after we've opened the gift. Not just the anticipation, but the presence that's inside itself. 1 more inhale here. Exhaling fully. As you inhale, shift forward to plank pose. You could stay right here or take that 3-legged plank by floating the left leg up. We try not to tent the hips, keeping them where they were, feeling that strength in the right leg really come in to support this now tripod foundation. Resist the temptation to look back, look slightly forward. 1 more inhale. And then without lifting your hips, draw that knee forward, in, round the upper back a little bit. Imagine kissing the kneecap. 1 more inhale here. Exhale, straight up and back, 3-legged dog. Looking forward, left foot's going to come to land right in between the thumbs. Right knee comes down, giving ourselves about 2 breaths to settle into this low lunge. And then we start to shift back into Ardha Hanumanasana, keeping the sole of the left foot glued to the mat as we come back. Stopping at that point where we really feel that Goldilocks amount of sensation on the top of the foot, the front of the ankle, all along the front of the shin. And most of the sensation may be in the leg in this pose, and yet keeping our awareness on what's happening in the spine. Start to peel up that left foot, rocking onto the left heel, and now really energize that left leg, fully straightening through the knee, drawing that left hip back to square the hips, and maybe softening and dropping into that half split fold. Last inhale here. As you exhale, you glide forward, you tuck the right toes, you lift the right knee, plant the right palm, and revolve your high lunge, left arm up towards the ceiling. Option to stay here or to amplify the shape, drawing that left arm forward, left bicep by the left ear, long from left fingertips to right heel. And then for the final couple of breaths, actually welcoming in a little bit of a twisting sensation in the upper spine as the left armpit pivots open towards the ceiling, and there's this feeling of leaning back into the lunge. 1 more inhalation here. And then exhale, stepping back to downward facing dog. We move through that vinyasa pattern with the dancing cobras, inhaling to come forward to plank. We lower to kiss the knees. We continue lowering 1 solid piece to the mat. Hands come out, elbows are facing slightly up. Inhale, dancing up 1. and down. And 2. And down. And 3. And down. Plant the palms, shifting up and back, downward facing dog. 5 breaths. We're going to move through that whole sequence quite a bit faster. One more time each side. The next layer of unwrapping that present. Now that you know what you're doing, see how much you can actually drop into the experience without expectation, just taking it one shape at a time. One more inhale here. One more exhale here. Here we go with a little bit of speed, but not overly rushing. Shift forward to plank. Hover and lift that right leg. Inhale fully. Exhale without lifting the hips, knee towards the nose. Extend it back, 3-legged dog. Step the foot through. Lower that left knee. Inhale, draw the heart forward. Exhale, keep the foot down, half splits. Inhale there. Exhale, flex the right foot, drop in. Inhale there. Exhale, shift forward, tuck the left toes, high lunge, plant the left palm, right arm up, inhale. Exhale, sweep the arm over. As you inhale, maybe lean back, open up. Exhale, step it back, downward facing. Inhale, forward to plank. Lower the knees. 1 solid piece to the mat. 3 dancing cobras, you know what you're doing. Inhale. And exhale. Getting deeper and deeper. Maybe you took the ribbon off, you've taken the wrapping paper off, you're down to the box. You get there and you're like, oh, there's plastic packaging. I need to go get the scissors. Plant the palms, downward facing dog. Just 2 breaths here between sides. Knowing there's always another layer to unwrap, to really get to the gold, the essence of the present itself. Looking forward, shift forward to plank. Lift that left leg, 3-legged. Full inhale there. Exhale, knee towards that nose. Inhale there. Exhale, 3-legged dog. Give yourself the in-breath to really grow in the pose. The exhale, transition forward on VinYasana, low lunge. Inhale, bloom into the pose. Exhale, keep the left foot down, glide back, half lunge. Inhale there. Exhale, rock back onto the left heel, drop in. Breath in. Breath out, transition forward, high lunge, plant the right palm, left arm up. In breath. Out breath, you sweep that left arm overhead. In breath, you amplify. Out breath, down dog. In breath to plank, knees down to mat. 3 dancing cobras up and down and up and down and up. Downward facing dog. 2 breaths. Eyes open, looking at the middle of your mat. Hop your feet to the middle of your mat. Walk your hands back to your toes. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold in. Bend the knees, drop the hips, rising up, Utkatasana chair pose. This is our final standing sequence. I'm just turning to face you so that you can see these shapes. Finding our Utkatasana chair pose. Feeling energy in between the inner legs. And then we're going to take this into a skater chair. So we're going to pop up onto the ball of the right foot, lift the right foot a few inches, and send it straight out like you're a speed skater. Hovering there for 3. Arms could be overhead or palms and heart center. 1 more inhale. You're going to bring this straight into bonsai tree. So you're going to stand up, cross the right ankle, over your left knee, open out the right knee like a figure 4, and then sit straight back down. So we're working around that hip. We energize the outer hip in the skater chair. Now we're stretching it in the bonsai. Getting as low as you want, couple more breaths. You're going to stand straight up, bring your inner knees together, take your right hand to the top of your right foot, not Trikonasana, just a quad stretch here. So hug your right heel towards your right glute, inner knees come towards each other. If I were to turn sideways, really noticing here, I'm trying to get my thighs parallel, and then instead of letting my pelvis tuck back, I'm drawing my pelvis forward to get a nice stretch in my hip flexor and my psoas. One more breath here. And then gently releasing, maybe taking a couple of breaths if you need to kind of shake out that standing left leg before we do that balancing sequence on the second side. We'll start with building our chair pose. So feet together or hip distance apart. Circle sweep the arms out and up. Sitting down into your chair. Inhaling here. As I exhale, I let the weight glide over to the right foot, coming onto the ball of the left. And then as I feel stable, sending it out into my skater. Taking the arm position of your choice here. Being with the work. Being present with the challenge within each pose, knowing it's never going to last. Last breath here. And then see if you can stay on that standing leg as you transition to bonsai, finding that figure 4, and then sitting down. And my left hip's like, you just had me doing the totally opposite thing. So being patient with the body as you really work from one extreme of effort to another in the same region of the body. And then standing into that quad stretch, still working with balance, finding the top of the left foot, inner knees together. And instead of that fold at the pelvis, think of trying to draw the front of the pelvis forward. Maybe bending the left elbow to draw the left heel towards the left glute. And then gently releasing, we'll take a vinyasa to the mat as we wrap up the vinyasa portion of the practice. Circle sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, folding over the legs. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, stepping or floating it back. Your one and only chaturanga of the practice. Here it is. Take it, enjoy it. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. We'll prepare to come into our first yin pose of the practice, butterfly pose. Jumping through to seated, I'm going to turn to face you, soles of the feet together, knees out and wide like butterfly wings. So this is a pose, depending on how your femurs sit in your acetabulum, that you may need a little bit more space, more of a diamond. And some people like it super close in. There's no right answer. It's just whatever the right fit is for your particular anatomy. I'm going to welcome in a pillow because we're going to be here about 4 minutes. And so as you're ready, start to fold in. I'm going to keep my head a little bit elevated just for the volume of my voice, but you drop in at a depth that feels supportive to you. I think of holidays that tend to be oriented around opening presents and how frequently opening presents can be associated with frustration because there's this intense eagerness to get to the gift.
And so there's this irritation when we run up against obstacle after obstacle after obstacle to get to the gift, whether it's packaging or boxes or plastic or and it's the same thing in life, right? We want to get to the good stuff and end up running into our own irritation and frustration at having to navigate obstacle after obstacle just to get to the gift. And so much of the practice of yoga, that Tibetan monk Thich Nhat Hanh talks about, that even suffering is a gift because it teaches us how to be more grateful and appreciative for the good moments. It reminds us that none of us is exempt from difficulty. So as you rest here for one more minute, noticing if there are any obstacles in your mind or your body that are holding you back from the ability to just be here. Last few breaths in butterfly pose. Reminding yourself that there's no rush to how we leave a particular pose. You can begin to guide the torso up and out of the forward fold. Maybe you just need a couple breaths to sit upright. We are going to move into dragonfly, so most of the body will stay the same, except the legs are going to extend out wide in a V shape, like the wings of a dragonfly. And you can take the degree of this V as wide as you want it to be. Once again, I'm going to keep my bolster. I often like to turn mine this way so that my belly and front of my torso has more space, and then starting to drop in. And then because we are no longer in the vinyasa portion of the practice, you might need to remind the body that the muscles can really start to dial down. So that might look like relaxing the soles of the feet, or really intentionally allowing in more of a swimmy quality around the knee joint. And even that core integration that we worked on so intensely in the early portions of this practice, that can even soften and start to fall away. So there's a wave-like undulation happening within the abdomen as the diaphragm facilitates the pace of breathing. When I was thinking about planning this practice and this theme of unwrapping presence, I was reflecting on watching my own children open presents and how often when they do finally get a gift completely open, the immediate response is often to turn to the next gift and start opening it, instead of pausing to be with the gift that they just worked so hard to unwrap. I think of myself and how often I will work so hard to accomplish a particular goal or finish a particular project. And upon its completion or upon arriving at that destination, often my instinct is to be like, okay, what now? What next? Instead of really savoring the arrival, savoring the unwrapping. One more minute here. Give yourself one more breath, just as you are. And then again, taking your time to come out of the pose. We're going to keep the legs as they are, so you don't need to move them. I'm going to move my bolster out of the way so you can see this as we come into a mild twist. So we're going to take the entire torso, turn it towards the right leg. And this might be a really shallow pose depending on your QL, your quadratus lumborum, as you start to walk the hands towards that right foot until you start to feel kind of a pulling in that left lower quadrant of the spine. And then you can really allow the spine to round here. The weight of the head can drop in towards the floor. And again, this may be a time you need to remind the body that this is not a time for muscular engagement. We're really allowing the natural stress of the pose to hang out in the joints and the connective tissue. And this is a shorter hold. We're here for under a minute at this point. This is a little bit more of an obscure region of the body where a lot of things can get compacted. So just encouraging you to be with whatever is showing up right now, whether that's sensation, thought, or emotion. There's no wrong experience right now, just letting yourself be with it as it comes. And then because this is a more tender region of the body, being quite careful as you start to navigate your way out of that side and really pausing for about 15 seconds here in the middle. And I know in my own body, I'm really feeling a lot of residual sensation coming out of that. So just noticing. Maybe needing to really welcome the breath to be a little bit more balanced back in the body.
And as you feel the body kind of settling, then you can start to introduce moving to the other side, turning the torso to the left, and then walking forward without any sense of destination, really letting the body tell you when it's arrived where it needs to be in the pose. So it's not, I'm going to get to my foot, it's I'm going until my body says, this is where I need to be today. And so much of presence is exactly that. It is the being with where you are, as they are. It's being with life as it presents itself. Knowing so much of where you find yourself is often outside of your control. And so unwrapping presence becomes that ability to drop through the layers of obstacles, irritations, frustrations, to be with in an honest way whatever life is presenting in any given moment. Without moving, give yourself one more complete breath where you are. And then you can start to make your way out. And again, really pausing to let those after effects of the pose kind of sweep through the body, sweep through the system. We'll begin to move into the final 5 minutes of practice, which is a deep, restorative Savasana. If you have a pillow like I do, you're welcome to use it as a support at the back of the knees or maybe along the spine. I'm going to do mine along my spine. You're welcome to grab a blanket, dim your lights. This is your permission slip to do whatever you need to do for the next 5 minutes to feel luxurious. And I'm generally going to give you the gift of silence in this Shavasana. But the question here is, you've done all of the work of unwrapping the different layers of packaging. You've unveiled the gift of presence itself. And so the question now is, can you actually savor the gift of presence? Can you be with it for the next 4 minutes or so without needing to rush to the next thing? soothing your body. Allow the breath to naturally deepen. As the breath deepens, welcome in subtle movement through the fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. And then in your own way and in your own time, make your way back up to a comfortable seat. As you find your comfortable seat, and we prepare to close the practice, you might bring the hands onto the body as a gesture of gratitude. Or bring the palms of the hands together in prayer mudra, allowing the chin to drop slightly as a gesture of humility. May the entire universe be filled with peace, joy, love, and light, which in Sanskrit sounds like this. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Wishing victory to all of our practices.